Hello, friends. Hello, hello. Hope you're having a good evening. Today is Monday. Hope you're having a happy Monday. Okay, so we are back again today, or I am back to shed some more light on the dire situation that is nursing. So let me know where you are watching from. I will highlight your comments. And let me put up, Fan said, employers saw nurses working short and making work at the height of COVID and now think it's acceptable to have the minimum amount of nurses on the floor at once. In what world is 5 nurses in the ED okay? Exactly. Thank you for your comment. It's frustrating. It's dangerous. And so let me tell you a little bit about what happened. So let me move my screen over here. So a poor nurse in Washington at St. Michael Medical Center had to call the fire department. Fire department says they've never received a call like this before. So she called 911 through an admin line. I did want to point that out. She didn't call through the normal. She called through an admin line. Last Saturday around 10:30 p.m., the charge nurse expressed 2 times that they felt like they were drowning because they had over 45 patients in the waiting room and only 5 nurses. So like Fan said, in what world is that okay? It's extremely dangerous for patients. It's extremely dangerous for us, for our licenses. She said that we're in dire straits. We need the fire department. We need the fire department help. Can somebody come here and help us? So first, I want to commend her on being resourceful because she felt like she was drowning and she needed help. She didn't know who else to turn to, and she called the fire department. I also want to commend our firefighters. Thank you so much. Firefighters, EMTs, you don't get enough credit. You're underpaid. You do so much. So thank you. Thank you for what you do. And so the firefighter department decided to send 2 firefighters, and they cleaned rooms and beds in the ED. They moved patients and they took vital signs. They were there for 90 minutes, and they made the decision to send a 2-person crew to assist because we were treating it like any other call for help in our community. So again, thank you so much to our firefighters. Now, what made the situation worse was that there was a ransomware attack. So the facility was hacked. The Common Spirit Health, which is a parent company of that hospital. So other hospitals in the area, they also experienced access to patient records, lab results, and even elevators. So they said that this situation was the perfect storm, and it backed up ambulances and kept a flood of sick patients waiting in ambulances, one for as long as 8 hours. Can you imagine being a patient waiting in an ambulance for 8 hours? I mean, that's unthinkable. Hey, Chastity. Chastity's tuning in from New York. Chastity, are you in nursing? So today we're talking about how a nurse had to call 911 for help because they were so short-staffed. So as cyber attacks on healthcare reach record highs and staff shortages are exacerbated. So Chastity says, what's the situation right now with med-surg nursing? What ratio are you getting right now, patient to nurse ratio? So staff shortages are exacerbated by the pandemic. Nurses are growing increasingly concerned for the safety of their patients and themselves. What? 1 to 8? 1 to 8. That is insanity. Are they working on lowering that ratio at all? So here is my 2 cents about this, right? We're understaffed and we're being forced to work in these conditions, and it is dangerous, right? What I do not understand is hospital administrators are understaffing us. But then, so that's not our fault, right? We're not the ones requesting to work with in the ED with 5 nurses or on a tele floor with eight, 8 to 1 nurse, right? We're not requesting that. We don't want that, but that's what we're getting because of administration. And yet, who is being held responsible? We are, right? The Redonda Vought trial opened the floodgates and made nurses liable. Now, do I think that in all situations, nurses should be exempt from litigation? Of course not, right? There are some things, atrocious things that nurses have done, and they should be held accountable, right? But when it comes to a situation like this, where there's 5 nurses in the ED and a nurse has to call 911 because she doesn't have enough people to help, and she doesn't know what else to do, and something goes wrong, how can we hold that nurse accountable when it's not her fault? Like, why aren't we holding hospitals accountable for the inhumane conditions that they are providing at this moment for patients and for nurses? So it's very scary. We're dangerously understaffed, and hospital administrators can't keep staff because of working conditions and pay, right? It just seems like such a no-brainer, like common sense, right? If you staff us appropriately and pay us a little bit more, then A, you wouldn't have to pay travel nurses, and B, you wouldn't be losing staff. There would not be as high turnover. Turnover costs facilities so much money. If you, for a brief period in time, invested in just hiring and running us fluffy, right? Hiring more nurses than you think we need because you run us with the bare minimum, to the point where you run us as if we were robots and we're not humans that need to go to the bathroom and need to take a drink of water, right? So why are we the ones that are being legally held accountable when something goes wrong, when we are dangerously understaffed? It's just a very dangerous situation. Just very dangerous situation. If you're tuning in now, I was just discussing how a nurse in Washington had to essentially call the firefighters to come help in the ED because it was 5 nurses to 45 patients. Just absolute insanity. We have to unionize. We have to advocate for proper patient, like nurse patient ratio, because this is just, it's dangerous. So just a really short live today. If anybody has any other questions or concerns, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to touch on this that happened in Washington and how severely understaffed they were. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe. Oh, the last thing that I wanted to say. So this is the last thing that I wanted to say is, sometimes when I get on these lives, it is a little bit nerve wracking and I do get nervous. So my thoughts, like I'll have things I want to say and then I forget. I get brain fart. But the answer to the nursing shortage is not to educate more nurses, right? That's not the answer. If we're pumping out nurses in the education system, but they're not lasting maybe 1 to 2 years in nursing, the analogy I would like to give you is, if a boat is sinking, right? The boat is nursing and it's sinking because there's a hole in the boat, right? Is it more efficient to grab a bucket or a pail and like throw out water in the boat? Or is it more important to actually patch the hole, and thereby you're stopping the leakage that's coming into the boat, right? The boat will no longer sink because it doesn't have any more water coming in, right? Being understaffed, short-staffed is the hole in nursing. That is what is making everyone leave nursing. And it's not necessarily the pay. It's just that we are overworked so much that we as nurses say, you know what, if you're going to overwork us, then at least pay us accordingly, right? So Fan, let me highlight your comment. Fan said, pay fairly and fair nurse to patient ratios, but that doesn't fit their bottom dollar. Exactly. It comes down to their greed. It comes down to their greed and profits, prioritizing profits over patient safety. And again, Why are they not held accountable? Why? Because they are lobbyists. They pay a lot of money to politicians, to their campaigns. That's the bottom line. That's why we as nurses have to unionize. We have to contact, vote, and tell your say you're a constituent in their area, and call your senators and your congress people and tell them that if they don't support nurse favorable legislation, that you're not going to vote for them. That's the only way these things will change. So I lost my train of thought. What I was saying, another ADHD moment. So I was giving my analogy about the boat. So the issue is not education, right? There's plenty of, like, yes, we don't have enough educators and things like that, but that is not the main issue right now with the nursing shortage. The main issue is that the working conditions in nursing are not conducive to keeping nurses. So once hospital systems change that, right? Once hospital systems change that and make working conditions for nurses better, right? Instead of giving us, like, it's just so sad. Like, it's just common sense. Why are you, it's like you're giving us it's like, how many patients can we give them? Let's push them to the breaking point, but then let's move one step back. Like, how much can we push them without actually breaking them? That's what they're doing to us. I guarantee you, if they gave med surg nurses or med tele nurses 4 patients, oh man, that nurses would stay on that floor at least for 2 years, at least, if not more, right? When at the rare occasion that I had one patient make so much difference, so much difference. If just from 4 to 5, on the rare occasion that I had 4 way back in the day when I was a bedside nurse, it was a glorious day. I had time to spend with my patients. I had time to talk to them, to walk them to the bathroom. So Chastity says, sometimes I feel I am just doing tasks and not actual nurses. And thank you for your transparency and for your comments. And I agree with you, right? Administration gets so fixated on, like, whiteboards and completing your paperwork. Every patient, we have to do Braden, Morris, IPOC, like so much charting that it doesn't feel like nursing anymore. It feels like we're just checking a bunch of boxes off, right? And meanwhile, with all these distractive tasks and busy work, it's keeping us from actual patient care, from being able to assess our patient, make sure our patient is doing well and not deteriorating, and just the bringing the human aspect back to nursing, right? What nursing has become is not what nursing used to be. And they keep giving us and giving us and giving us more things to do, more charting, more drawing labs and doing this and that. They don't take anything away. They don't take anything away. So I just, it's just sad, the state of that nursing is in. And the solution is so simple, and we've been yelling it from the rooftops for years, even above pay, right? As nurses, we prioritize patient care. What we really want, yes, pay is great, but pay isn't going to make our stress levels go down even with more pay, right? What we truly want is better ratios to patients, right? California is not perfect. California is by no means perfect, and nursing in California is not perfect. But I will say that I will say that nurses in California are much happier. I have a friend that is in California, and he says he does travel nursing. He says he will not work ever again in Florida because it's just like day and night. They get their breaks, they get their lunch breaks, they get a breaker that comes in so that they can focus on their lunch, and they're not wondering, like, oh, the nurse that I passed my phone off to now has 12 patients. Are my patients going to be okay? Right? So they have a breaker. They have mandated by law ratios, which is what the rest of the country needs to pass. And if California can afford, if the hospitals in California can afford to run it with patient ratios, the rest of the country can afford to do so. So that's all for today. This is like the second bye I've said. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, and you turn on that notification bell. Until next time.